Hello and welcome to the Arrivals Podcast. I'm your host, Merelise Wilson, and today I am so excited to have my dear friend Mindy Zeh here telling us her birth story of her triplets.
What a surreal thing to say. It still feels weird to hear it.
How many years on now are we?
They just turned 8 last weekend.
That's so crazy.
And it's been amazing, but a blur.
I still think of them as the little itty bitty preemie triplet babies.
Zabies.
Yeah, the Zabies. Yeah, always and forever.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I've really had to dig back in the memory for this one.
I appreciate you doing the research.
Unlike your fresh mamas recently.
I know. I appreciate you digging back into the archives to talk about them today.
Such a therapeutic experience.
It really is. It's so funny. That's been a lot of people's feedback, is that it's very therapeutic, whether it's happened recently or happened a while ago. It's so nice to talk about.
Well, life lesson learned though. Write your birth story down when you have the baby.
Yes. Or come on the podcast and I'll record it.
Exactly. Where was this podcast 8 years ago? I'm so proud of you though. This is such a perfect fit for you. I will never forget. You were so curious about every single detail of my story that many years ago. And so to see this come full circle and to be sitting here with you is just exciting. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Happy for you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for being a part of it.
Always.
Okay. So as we alluded to, you have triplets.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. I know, like that, we could just end the episode there. Tell us about when you found out you were pregnant with triplets.
Yep.
What, if you don't mind also just touching a little bit on like what your fertility journey was, like getting pregnant and then finding out and all of that.
All of it. Gosh, I feel like I should start with a little background on us.
Oh yes, duh. How did I just jump ahead?
No, that's okay. Your husband and I were college friends.
Yes, and then roommates.
Flash forward, yes, roommates, and we worked together.
Yeah.
That's when I met you the first time.
Yes.
We've known each other 15 years now?
14.
14. Look at your math.
I know.
Let's see. So my husband, Travis, and I had been married 4 years when we decided we were ready to start our family.
Yeah.
And
Travis would have started the day after the wedding if it was up to him.
1000%. Well, actually,
or the night of the wedding for that matter.
I remember us having a very serious conversation about, like, no joke, starting our family in Italy.
Yeah.
For my 30th birthday. And I was like, okay, but maybe not like on this trip because I want to enjoy wine. So like maybe when we get home.
That's right.
That was summer of 2017.
Yeah.
And we got home from that trip and we started not trying.
Right. But not preventing.
Entirely.
Yeah.
At some point when we were talking about starting our family, I remember vividly hearing others' stories. Several of our friends or close family had been pregnant recently. And I remember mentally going into it with, okay, not everyone gets pregnant immediately. This might be a challenge. So we're not going to try. We're not going to get stressed. We're just going to not try.
Right.
So that's what we did. And didn't think much about it. I actually found out I was pregnant in one of the most shocking ways. I had a randomly scheduled, just an annual physical exam, not an OBGYN appointment, a physical exam.
I don't remember this.
Oh, this is the best part of the whole story. Well, maybe not the best, but needless to say, my story started with a surprise.
Yeah.
I went to my primary care physician, had a physical exam. They're going through the order of questions. Do you smoke? Do you drink? Do you do drugs?
Is there a chance you're pregnant?
It wasn't. I guess they do ask that directly. I don't remember that. But basically I was like, no, don't do drugs, don't smoke. I do drink occasionally. I've been cutting back. Like, we're talking about starting our family.
Yeah.
And I remember her saying, are you talking about it or have you actually started trying?
Yeah.
And that's when I had to admit, okay, well, I guess we've tried, but I'm not tracking anything. We're just not forcing it. She was like, okay, no worries. That day, she actually did an EKG on me because I had shared that I was having some heart palpitations when we had been in Italy. In hindsight, now as a mother, I know that was anxiety.
Yes.
I didn't know that at the time, or dehydration, who knows?
Yeah.
I remember feeling sort of nervous about that. I think it was my first EKG that I recall. So I leave that appointment, no further thoughts, go to work that day. That was a Monday. Flash forward, I believe it was that same week, Wednesday night, like 7, 8 o'clock at night, sitting on the sofa with a glass of wine in my hand.
Of course.
Watching Richie Rich with my husband. So random.
What a throwback.
A random number calls my phone, Florida number. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget because I look at it, I'm like, who is this? And Travis says, don't answer. It's probably spam.
Right.
And I think it's a work-related call perhaps. So I answer, hello, this is Mindy. Hi, Mindy, this is so-and-so.
Yeah.
It was my PA. I had not actually seen my primary care doctor that day because she was actually on maternity leave. And it was my PA and I was sort of blanking on her name. And I said, this is who? And then finally it clicks. She's like, hi, I'm getting ready to post some results to your MyChart. I wanted to talk to you before doing so.
So are you thinking
my heart drops.
Yeah.
I think it was because of the EKG or something.
Right.
That's all I could think.
Of course.
And she proceeds to say, is it HCG?
HCG.
Your HCG is positive. And I was like, what? I didn't know the term at the time or the acronym.
Why would you have?
And I'm sort of quiet. And she says, congratulations, you're pregnant. I'm holding a glass of wine watching him. I'm saying, what? And Travis is like, who is it? Just hang up.
What's she saying?
He thinks it's spam. He's like, just
why
hang
are you
up.
still talking to them?
Let's turn the movie back on. And I say, oh my gosh, can you say that again? I'm putting you on speakerphone. Put her on speakerphone. She's, hi, Mr. Zeh. This is so-and-so. Congratulations. You and your wife are pregnant.
Oh my God.
That is how I found out I was pregnant.
This is coming back to me now.
We did the math because we know.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
I was 3 weeks.
Wow.
I'm surprised nothing flagged then.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't.
Right.
Who actually goes into it thinking multiples, right?
No, but that's fair. Usually your HCG isn't normally high enough with a singleton to get a positive pregnancy test. But yeah.
I guess we haven't said this yet either. This was my first pregnancy, period. No former children.
Yeah.
Learning literally everything for the very first time.
Right.
And to find out that we were sort of not accidentally, but
surprisingly,
very quickly, needless to say, surprisingly pregnant. And the math was at 3 weeks. And I found out by a phone call. What?
Thank goodness Travis was there.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
I was in shock.
I imagine.
I will say it was a little scary too, because we knew how early it was.
Yeah.
And that comes with the fear of, okay, well, will I still be pregnant?
Do we celebrate?
This is a little scary. It's very early.
Right.
At that point, I think she said on the phone that night, you'll schedule your first ultrasound for about 8 weeks.
Right. Which 5
whenever
weeks
you
feels
think
like
that is.
5 weeks from then
have to
feels
wait
like
over
a year.
month.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So that's that. I mean, truly 5 weeks later, we slowly told some family.
Yeah.
Within the next couple of weeks, just that we were pregnant. That's all we knew. The timing was rough, actually.
Yeah.
I think there was a wedding. You and I were at a wedding together while I was pregnant.
Really?
Before in Kentucky.
Oh.
Before I knew it was triplets.
Oh my God.
And I felt so sick and so tired.
You were hiding it. But in hindsight,
was hiding it.
You did go home early that night, which is not your MO.
Well, I'll tell you what else helped, or maybe it hurt. It's both. Our team at work was doing the Whole30 challenge.
Oh, yes.
So that was helping hide it. But little did I realize how awful that was for growing a baby.
Right.
I needed a lot more food
nutrients
and calories and nutrients.
Do you remember I actually called you out?
No.
And you were like, yes, we were at a work happy. So Mindy and I worked together at the same company that my husband and I worked together at, where we met, but then we all went separate ways. And then Mindy and I ended up working together again. And so we were working together at this company and we were at a happy hour and I knew you were doing Whole30, but
the first and last time I ever did Whole30, I might add.
I like straight up asked you, I was like, are you doing Whole30 or are you pregnant? And you were like, Mare, it's Whole30. Like you can't lay off or something.
Sorry.
No, I mean, it was kind of rude of me to ask.
That's okay. We don't know what we don't know when we're new to all of this.
I should have assumed you would tell me when you were ready.
Well, did you find out? What a segue.
Yes.
So I found out that I had to wait the 5 weeks.
Yeah.
That was painstakingly awful. Time went very slow.
Did you take any pregnancy tests at home?
Oh, yeah. Eventually, I was like, okay, like, what does it feel like to find out normally? I think I had peed on the stick, a handful of times. Yeah, I was nervous. I found out too early.
Right. And you do want that experience of peeing on the stick and seeing the,
I didn't even own
smiley
pregnancy
face.
tests at the time. We had to go buy one. But yeah, that's actually one of the ways that we told our parents. So I did go take the pregnancy test, and I think I took a picture of it, put it on a bottle of wine, gave it to my parents as a wine label, a positive pregnancy wine label.
So that really checks out with your brand.
Yeah, exactly. It is totally on brand for us. Yeah. So the timing of I guess it was right around the 8-ish weeks, the first time I could get an ultrasound. It was the very end of August, the weekend right before, or the Thursday right before Labor Day weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And we had big plans with our friends that weekend, as you know.
Yes.
So, we're just trying to get through the week. I'm trying to check the box on this ultrasound. I think I was planning to go into work late. Only a few people knew that we were going to the doctor for this. It was an early morning, like 9 a.m., maybe 9:30 appointment. And I just remember walking in. Travis was obviously with me.
Mm-hmm.
This is 2017. Thank God I can't imagine anyone who had to go through all of this alone. We were maybe the second appointment of the morning. And I remember sitting there just waiting. I had done some pregnancy tests here and there at home, but I remember feeling so unsure. Like, what if I get in there after all this time and we have a lot, and I was already, maybe that's anxiety. Maybe it's realistic thinking.
Yeah. I think everyone has
Does
those
everyone
feelings.
sort of go
I
through
think
those
so.
just like waves of questioning, right?
I do. Yeah.
I remember squeezing Travis's hand extra hard and just being like, I just hope we hear a heartbeat. So a couple walked out. They looked like deer in headlights. I didn't know anything at the time. I'm just like, yeah, there's a lot going on. They call us back. Because it was so early, it had to be a vaginal ultrasound. You're in these rooms as a first timer.
Yeah.
It's just uncomfortable. You're already a little
anxious and
yes.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to expect, what I was looking at, what I was even listening to for that matter. The sweetest nurse, starts the ultrasound, is quiet for a minute. I sort of hear like a gasp. And then I'm looking between her and the screen and my husband. And she says, well, how many babies do you see? I think I hear think I hear plural first. I think I hear babies. And I'm looking at the screen. I don't know.
She asked you?
It's like, I think it was like out loud.
Yeah.
I don't, again,
Yeah.
this whole experience is a blur, but this is the part that I vividly remember. And she says, hold on, let me check heartbeats. So then I'd heard plural babies, plural heartbeats. I'm looking at her, I'm looking at Travis, and she proceeds to say, oh my goodness. She goes, I almost played a joke on you because the couple before you is having twins. I still don't have information yet, right? I mean, all this happened really fast, obviously. But she said, the couple before you is having twins, but oh my gosh, honey, you're having triplets.
I just got chills.
And then everything went black.
Yeah. And fade to black.
No joke.
Oh my
That's
God.
how we found out. Like I processed slowly.
Right.
Babies, heartbeats. I couldn't tell
Not
what I was seeing on the
twins,
screen.
Triplets.
And then she said triplets. And I cannot tell you where my brain went.
Yeah.
Travis, I looked at him. He was as pale as the sterile white walls.
Yeah.
I think I had some form of a laugh, cry,
Gasp.
shock.
Right.
I mean, it just a complete fog came over me.
Yeah.
Definitely a state of shock.
Understandably. And you guys have no history of twins or multiples in your family?
I'm glad you asked that. No, that was a series of the first few questions that we got.
Right.
I think the first question from the nurse in that same moment was, have you been taking Clomid?
Clomid.
And similar to how I don't know how to pronounce it now, I said, "What is that?" She goes, "Okay, I guess not. I think that's an IVF related."
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then she said, "Do you have twins in your family?" And we're like, "No, not that we know of."
Yeah.
And so she said, "Okay, well, I'm going to give you two a few minutes to process and talk, and we'll, be right back in." So we took like one or two selfies in that the picture. I don't even know. You can almost see through my eyes that we're just like, what? I'll share it with you for sure. But next thing I know, this is where I think reality hit.
Mm-hmm.
The ultrasound's over and we're leaving from that office and we're getting taken through like a back hallway to my OBGYN's office.
Yeah.
I've been in that office many a times and I've never known this was a door or a pathway, and not to the room where you lay on the bed in the stirrups. We're in her
like office
desk chair, leather chairs sitting there. And I'm like, oh man, this feels serious.
Yeah.
And I think that's where admittedly the emotions set in, right? Mm-hmm. Like the shock is still there, but we're just going, triplets? What? How?
Right.
How? Not necessarily why, but like, you're just like,
how?
Seriously, the math wasn't mathing in my brain yet.
Right. I mean, you went from just thinking about getting pregnant to now you're having 3
And I
babies.
walked in to that appointment even fearing loss.
Right.
I don't know why, right?
Again, I think it's very normal.
And then to find out there are 3 heartbeats.
So crazy.
Already alive and well. That was wild. So we sit down with my OBGYN and she's wonderful. I adore her.
Mm-hmm.
But this day, little did I realize, there's protocol, right?
Right.
I don't think I knew what that was. I now understand how it has to be discussed. But what it felt like at the time was very cold is not the right word, but just
clinical,
like structured, clinical. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yes. Everything, the things that we heard in that moment was everything from, this is a high-risk pregnancy. Should you choose to reduce, make that decision by blah, blah, blah. I mean, at that point, immediately Travis and I are both bawling. We're like, what?
Right.
Hold on. What?
That's an option?
Like we barely just found out we're pregnant, much less with 3 children. And we're talking about, that was just
that's whole brutal.
Whoo in my brain. Other things like you're at a high likelihood of developing gestational diabetes. You'll likely need to see a nutritionist. This will be a mandatory C-section. I mean, this is within the first 5 minutes of processing.
Talk about overwhelming.
It was overwhelming to say the least. Mm-hmm. And we're learning new terminology immediately.
Right.
Now, there was some comforting conversation too. Mm-hmm. It was definitely still shocking, but it was reassuring as well. Mm-hmm. Although Travis is bawling. He's worried about my body.
Yeah.
Understandably so. I was told that I would immediately shift care over to an MFM, which is maternal fetal medicine specialist. And I am so thankful for that team.
Yeah.
I was with Georgia, let me say it the right way, perinatology.
Yeah. Perinatology. It sounds right to me.
Yes. They're basically OBs who specialize in high-risk pregnancies.
Yeah.
Yes. So, that was very reassuring. And let me tell you, after now having been through the care from that team, I'm spoiled rotten.
Right.
I got ultrasounds every 2 weeks. The things they were measuring and checking throughout my pregnancy was incredible.
Yeah.
But walking out of that office that day at 8 weeks, having just learned of a triplet pregnancy, was beyond shocking.
Yes. Did they say anything about, I know they talked about choosing to potentially reduce, but did they say anything about the risks or probabilities or odds of carrying all 3 to term?
If we talked about it, I do not specifically remember. Mm-hmm. I just remember Travis and I both feeling excitement and fear in parallel. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And just the knowledge of it being high risk meant that it's an uncontrolled dynamic.
Right.
You know, the first screening had not even been run.
Yeah.
What chromosomes will align and what won't?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Out of mine and my doctor's control.
Right.
So yeah, there's probably some stats that would be interesting to know. I don't necessarily know them.
Yeah.
I know that triplet pregnancies occur in roughly 1 in 6 to 8,000 births.
Wow.
In the US.
That feels high.
Well, obviously it varies by year, and it's more common with fertility treatment.
Of course. Yeah.
Which, did I say this already? Ours
that you were not.
was
Yeah.
spontaneous. And to our knowledge, nothing that runs in the family.
Right.
So spontaneous or non-assisted, as they'll sometimes say, triplets would be even more rare than that number.
And they were all fraternal, correct?
Fraternal, yes.
3 separate sacs, 3 separate eggs.
I can get medical on this one if you want me to.
Yeah,
this is like the one term that
people
I made sure
always
I
want
had
to know.
learn.
People always want to know that stuff.
I don't know all of it. And let me try and pronounce this the right way too. Fraternal, also known as trizygotic. Okay. Meaning that it occurred because there were 3 separate eggs fertilized by 3 different sperm, which ultimately created, this is where it's just fascinating to me.
Yeah.
3 distinct pregnancies.
That's so crazy.
But all at once. I mean, they are as different or unique as if they were just siblings born at different times.
3 different times, yeah.
But all at once.
Do you have 3 placentas?
Great question. So
just teeing you up.
Yeah, you are. I will say fraternal or trizygotic triplets are, I think, one of the most common forms of triplets. Okay. As opposed to
like twins and one fraternal. Or excuse me, like what's it called? Identical. Like an egg splitting and then having one extra separate egg.
I believe that's more rare.
Yeah.
Yes. But all 3 of mine, this is a massive blessing. And as I said, there was a lot of scary news being shared with us. What was comforting is that each of my babies were in their own individual sacs and placentas.
Wow.
So medically, that's known as tri-triplets. Okay. I'm going to try and pronounce this to pronounce this the right way as well. Trichronic and triamniotic.
Okay.
Meaning that it was 3 amniotic sacs, 3 placentas.
Wow.
Which is huge for outlook because each baby more or less had its own like support system,
right?
Its own protective sac, its own nutrient source. A lot of times where multiple pregnancies can be even more high risk is if one baby's taking all the nutrients from the other. And theoretically, the way that this triplet pregnancy was in my body was the safest, most ideal arrangement for multiples.
That's so wild. That's great that that's what is ideal. My brain goes straight to that is so much placenta for your body to carry. And obviously we'll get into this, but yes, I mean, that's just, oh my goodness. That's so much. Not only are you growing 3 humans, but like 3 placentas is a lot. That's a lot of extra organs.
Think about just in a singleton pregnancy, how much more blood your body produces.
It's crazy.
That was a fascinating thing to learn is just what your body starts naturally doing to support pregnancy, period.
Right.
And then times 3.
That's so crazy.
Like the amount of what was growing. I think you and I actually made this joke at one point. How many fingers and toes are in your body?
Oh, right yes. That's so wild.
But truly, back to what you were saying. Yeah, the pregnancy itself, as I learned over time, I had such an ideal setup. And when I look back, I admit, I had a very healthy pregnancy, all things considered.
Right. It
Wish
wasn't
I-
without its challenges, but
Correct. I wish I could have told myself that on day one.
But you don't know.
You never know what you don't know. But there were tolls it took for sure, like physically, emotionally.
Yeah.
I think just to hit a couple of the highlights, right? Like the high risk label right off the bat was scary.
Mhm.
It also came with its comfort of the constant monitoring.
Extra attention.
But, that meant as a multiple pregnancy, higher risk of anemia, potential for gestational diabetes, which I didn't develop.
Yeah,
Praise
that's
the
right.
Lord. Hypertension.
Mm-hmm.
But the appointments all the time were great.
Right. But it's great. But also at the same time, that's a lot of time out of your schedule dedicated to doing this. And, you're working full time and you're doing,
1,000%.
That's a lot.
So there's a stress factor there. At the time I was juggling working full time and trying to be at all the appointments and screenings. And luckily we never had terrible news along the way. But I would say that each appointment came with that stomach in knots feeling, right? Like every time we went in, it was like, okay, are things looking okay? How am I feeling? What does this mean? But again, I'm just so grateful for the care that we had. I truly, seeing a nutritionist right off the bat changed the game for me, because I was not as sick as some stories I've heard, but just very nauseous. And when this nutritionist found out that I had been doing Whole30, she looked at me and said, not anymore.
Cut that shit out.
So
you kept doing it after you found out you were pregnant with triplets?
Whole30?
Yeah.
Good question. Did I?
Surely not.
No.
Okay,
I think
good.
I started eating cheese and all the things.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
I might have had to pretend at work. I don't remember, but no, I had to increase my calorie intake like tenfold.
I remember going to lunch with you at some point during your pregnancy, and you were like, we went to go get burgers, and you were like, I have to get a milkshake and fries too. And I was like, oh, what a bummer. But then I remember you were like halfway through it all, and you were like, I can't eat anymore. There's like no room in my stomach.
I had to be really smart about protein intake and the order of which I ate, because if I filled up with junk, it was just
felt
garbage and not helping. So I will say I got very, very serious about that. And again, I'm just really thankful for the advice from the nutritionist to help guide that, because in so many ways in pregnancy, I think things feel out of control.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this whole journey,
motherhood, all of it.
Does.
Yes,
exactly. But that felt like something I could be in control of.
That's a really good outlook.
And I think I had to carry that mindset, and we can get to this, but I'll go ahead and touch on it now so you don't let me forget.
Yeah.
I had to continue that mindset of control the controllables into the very early days after the babies were born, when I felt, spoiler alert, NICU life was a part of our journey, and I felt helpless. And I remember hormones were raging and I felt like I could not do anything. And I had to go back to that mindset of, what can I control? What can I do to help? And at that point for me, it was pumping.
Yeah.
So I feel like the nutrition side and the, just having that mindset of so much of pregnancy is just, a miracle. I can't think of another word for it, really.
Truly. Yes.
But what can you attempt to do to make it better?
Yes, absolutely.
For yourself, for your babies, in whatever little ways you can.
Yeah. Before we move too far ahead, I do want to quickly tell the story of you telling us that you were pregnant with triplets.
Absolutely.
It was the weekend.
How did I skip over that?
I don't know. We just really skipped ahead. It was the weekend after you found out, right? Because it was Labor Day. You found out that week, and then we all went to the lake for Labor Day.
So yes, my appointment when I found out about triplets was Thursday, the last day of August. And that next day we left for the lake.
Yeah.
Oh, I should say, by the way, after the appointment, we probably paid $30 in parking garage fees that day. We left the OB's office, sat in our car for probably 3 hours. And the only people who, like Travis's parents, my parents, one set of friends, maybe my sister, I can't even really remember. Not too many people knew we were there, but we had not talked to anyone yet.
Yeah.
And of course, everyone's heart sank. They were like, why haven't we heard from you? Oh no, are y'all okay? Are you okay?
Right.
And we finally start responding. We're like, we don't know. And eventually, a FaceTime here, a phone call there. We sat in the parking garage. Both of us called out of work. My sweet boss at the time, God bless her. I don't think did I tell her the news? No, I think I told her I was sick. I don't remember. But we both called in sick that day.
Yeah.
And
it's a mental health day. You need to take that.
Oh my gosh. And we just went home and we just absorbed and we tried to come to terms with our new reality. We felt every emotion under the sun. We laughed. We cried. We felt the fear. We tried to learn. We tried not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I do think we tried to soak it in as best as we could that day.
Yeah.
Because, to your point, next up was telling other people, and the initial reactions we got were incredible. We left Friday the next day to go to the lake for Labor Day weekend when we knew we would be seeing about 20 of your closest friends.
And it is a crew who likes to have a good time.
Should I say what we were doing?
Yeah, absolutely.
We were supposed to do our annual Beer Olympics. Yep. Another event that would have been extremely challenging for me to hide that I was pregnant. I had not even told this group I was pregnant yet.
Oh my God.
The only people who knew were our friends Nick and Alex, and Nick was actually the one announcing the teams for Beer Olympics. And I think it went something like, there's been some changes to the teams. One of our other friends actually shared that she was pregnant that day too. She and I both announced we were pregnant that day.
Oh my gosh.
But she said it first and it was like, she won't be playing because she's pregnant.
Yeah.
And then Nick sort of looked to me and was like, same for Mindy. And then we said, but it's triplets, more or less. I don't know. I feel like we might have said something more creative.
I remember I remember Nick saying Mindy is not going to be on anyone's team. And then Travis paused and I just got a sense. And I remember I said, oh my God, is it twins?
You did guess that.
And then I was like, shut up, Merelise, this is not about you.
You did say that out loud. I remember now.
Oh my God, is it twins? And then I was like, oh, reverse. And then Travis goes, nope, it's triplets.
That room went both silent and screaming all at once.
I think I blacked out. I can't imagine how you felt.
I remember being embraced by you so quickly. Actually, before that, I remember Chris grabbing his head and going, oh my gosh, they're going to be so broke.
Yes.
I think I have that on video.
Oh my God, which, yeah.
Oh, you're right, Chris, man.
Mr. Practical right there.
Yeah. Oh, we all cried.
Yes. Oh yeah, we all cried.
I felt so supported in that moment.
I'm so glad.
I think that's been one of the most incredible things about, I don't even want to say my pregnancy, motherhood in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope and pray so many people feel this way.
Yeah.
The village is a very real thing.
Mm-hmm.
The good, bad, the ugly, all of it.
Yeah.
And for us, there was a lot that happened, not even my pregnancy, but just in that phase of life during that time. And good friends.
They mean everything.
To support you and be part of that. Yeah, just part of the support system along the way.
The framily, as we like to call
them.
We
do. The framily. Yeah, it meant the world. So yeah, that was the initial announcement.
Did you ever get tired or annoyed with people's, obviously not that day, but as your pregnancy went on, were there ever moments where you were, did anyone put their foot in their mouth? Did you ever get annoyed answering was it spontaneous or not? People poking their nose in your business. I think there's just a lot of curiosity with that, type of pregnancy. And I don't know, I'm just curious. Or was it always just exciting?
There were a few comments I remember here and there that maybe rubbed me the wrong way. I think that was later in pregnancy though, when it was about my physical appearance or, I would like to say the answer is no. I'm a very curious person.
Yeah.
And I'm a very open person, I think.
You are.
If I need to filter myself on this, let me know.
You don't.
If you start hearing too much. I don't recall minding sharing or getting annoyed.
Mm-hmm.
some of it definitely got repetitive. And I think I just always said like, oh, I'm an open book. Like,
Right.
and occasionally, yeah, it felt like I was just, yes, they're triplets. No, it doesn't run in my family. Yes, they're fraternal. Yeah. I feel like I did at a point in life have that script.
You had your little elevator pitch down.
Yeah. Which I totally don't remember now. But I get it. I felt the same way about my own pregnancy.
Right.
And frankly, some of the questions I was asked became questions I turned around and asked my doctor or wanted to learn myself. So I don't think it got annoying, but I could be wrong.
No, that answer doesn't surprise me.
If anyone out there ever asked me a question and I was annoyed, I'm sorry.
No, that answer doesn't surprise me. That checks out with your personality. But
yeah, I just, those first few weeks of sharing the news, we were also still processing it. And it was every thought all at once, all encompassing.
Yeah.
Logistics.
Right.
Help. Finances. Thanks, Chris, for putting that one in our head.
Right. I mean, you immediately, people talk about having to get a bigger car when they decide to have a third baby or decide to have a second baby. But you guys were like, we need a car that can fit 3 car seats right now.
Yes. I think about that sometimes. We're actually still in the same house that we were already in for years before we started trying to plan for our family. But we did have to buy a new car.
Yeah.
And 6 car seats.
So crazy.
And a whole lot of other things. But yeah, it was definitely one of the original thoughts. We're thinking survival rate. We're thinking my health. We're thinking baby's health. We're thinking, how are we physically, logistically actually going to parent 3 kids at once? What? It was a wild time.
I can imagine.
To try and go back now, knowing what I know now, and just tell that scared little girl that she would do it.
Yeah.
And that she would find that strength and figure all the things out. I wish I could.
I have told so many people, whenever I say I have a friend who's a triplets, I always follow it quickly with, if there was anyone who was meant to be triplet parents, it's you and Travis.
You're so sweet to say that.
It's true. And I've said that, I say that so honestly and from the bottom of my heart. I've always felt that way. Like, you guys just took it all in stride. You always have. You're such a good team. And I knew you were scared, but you never, I don't know. I never got that sense. You were just like, we will figure it out. We will figure it out. And you have. And then when they got here,
we were scared. We hit it.
I know.
I hit it.
I know. But you just have always taken it in stride, and you guys make it look as easy as it is possible to look having triplets.
Well, thank you. I will accept that.
Good.
And just also add, it is such a one day at a time life.
Yeah.
Which is hard to do for someone who used to claim being type A.
Yes.
I no longer claim that. At a certain point, when you have to accept that you cannot plan and control the things you would like to. Oh, that's an eye-opening place to be.
It's really hard.
Going back to that kind compliment, thank you for saying that if it was anyone, it should be us. I, of course, during this therapeutic process and prep for your wonderful podcast, went back through, old files, folders that I have not opened in 7 years at least.
Yeah.
And I found a journal that I did not finish writing in after the babies were born.
I'm proud of you for starting.
But I started.
That's good.
I want to read this because I'm so glad I wrote it down. I would have never remembered. This was January of 2018. I was 27 weeks. I was told by my MFM doctor at my last appointment, quote, "You're a freak of nature. Your body was made for triplets. You were born for this."
That's amazing.
And I just wrote, wow, what a relief.
That's so amazing. How validating. That must have felt so important for you in that moment to hear that like your body is capable, and that you're doing a great job. Like,
at that point of all the, feelings are not mutually exclusive, right? So excitement and anxiousness were just constants the entire pregnancy. But when you hear things like that from a doctor, it gave me so much hope.
Yes.
And at that point, I was also, what did I say?
27 weeks.
27 weeks, getting far enough along where the statistics are better and the odds are better and the babies are more developed. And
what is the goal, if you will? How many weeks do they want you to get to with triplets?
Great question. And probably one of the more common questions I get. So full term for triplets is actually 36 weeks.
Okay.
Like that is what is medically optimal.
Okay.
Similar to your 39 to 40 weeks for a singleton, right? And that's due to the risk of both maternal and fetal complications any further past that 36 weeks.
Yeah.
So preeclampsia, I think, can be a higher risk, placental dysfunction. All of those things increase after that 36-week point due to uterine stretching.
Yeah.
And you sort of just run out of space.
I remember you were talking
say it non-medically. I'm like, how would I have made it any farther?
We'll have to put a picture up too when the episode goes live, but it was amazing. I remember looking at, it's just amazing. You literally looked like you just had swallowed I don't even know what the right fruit is or thing or
lumpy watermelon.
Like 3 lumpy watermelons. But I remember you could literally see elbows and feet and you're sticking out of your belly.
I had aliens in my body. Yeah. It was crazy. So wild.
It was crazy. But you looked amazing. You to the doctor's point, you carried it so well.
My body, I'm so proud of my body.
You should be.
So 36 weeks is full term. At some point, I want to say around the 30-week mark, maybe at least even before that, we pre-scheduled my C-section. I remember another guest you had on your podcast saying that one of the benefits of a C-section is getting to sort of pick your date.
Yeah.
I don't know that I necessarily picked the date. Well, ultimately I didn't.
Right.
When they scheduled the C-section, I think it was based on several factors for me. And so that was would have been at 35 weeks in one day.
Okay.
Again, going back to, wow, that was really hopeful. They were looking at my body, the MFM, every 2 weeks.
Wow.
And to say, okay, you're going to, things are looking good. You're going to be able to carry this long.
Yeah.
Woohoo. That's when I started feeling, physically horrible.
Right.
But emotionally and mentally, that's when I was
feeling positive.
Feeling so much more positive. I'm like, I'm doing it. We've done it. We've made it this far. But back to, my C-section being scheduled for 35 weeks in one day, I knew going into all this what a high likelihood, prematurity is prematurity, and what a high likelihood that they would be born early. I think for either multiples or triplets, there's a 90% chance that they're born between, I want to say, before the 34-week mark.
Yeah.
And so that the fact that they had felt the confidence to schedule me for 35 weeks and a day, I felt great about.
Yeah.
But I didn't make it. I did not make it that long. So very early on in ultrasounds, they label the babies to monitor their individual progress throughout the pregnancy. It's a little confusing for me. I don't exactly know how they could tell them apart, but immediately they were baby A, baby B, and baby C based on position.
Okay.
I think it's lowest. I think it's based on true position. So the entire pregnancy, we were referring to our babies as A, B, and C.
Yeah.
Baby A was a girl. Baby B was a boy. Baby C was a girl.
Yep.
That's all we knew. We actually did a gender reveal.
Yes. I remember we couldn't go. I was so mad.
We had the genders written down for us and delivered them to 2 friends. We hosted family and friends. and they shot off fireworks in our cul-de-sac.
This was the era of gender reveals.
This was before fireworks like caught fire in California.
Yes.
This was when it was still safe and fun and celebratory.
Yes.
And not harmful. Yeah, sorry, we were those people, but our neighbors loved it.
It was
thankfully.
so epic.
It was pretty epic because they did it in the order that we knew. We were like, okay, this is going to be baby A. And it was like, pop, girl, you know, it's pink. And then the next one, we were like, oh my gosh, pop, blue, boy, you know, everybody's screaming. You know, in that moment, we knew we got mixed gender. And then baby C, we were just like, another girl.
Yeah.
Oh, that was such a special day.
Yeah.
Again, back to the village. We were so lucky to have so many friends and family willing to celebrate with us. And that was really when it started feeling personal.
Yeah.
Because, you know, for a multiples pregnancy, early on, what I'm feeling on the inside of my body, I don't know who it is. You know, a singleton, you're like, oh, my baby.
Right.
Here she is kicking. For me, I didn't know what the little movement or, you know, whatever. I didn't know who it was. It's hard to get to know all three at once from the inside.
Right.
And then eventually once we knew genders and as they were growing and I knew their positions and they were monitored by A, B, and C, I could I felt like I got to know their little personalities on the inside pretty well. You know, I'd be like, oh, that's like Zoe doing karate under my rib again. Or that's Tristan stretching out really long in the center. Or
so wild.
Morgan, baby A, was just right on my bladder for the entirety of the pregnancy. She was so low. And so many of those little things still match their personality.
I was
That
gonna say.
sounds wild to say, but it does. So we were talking about the duration of a triplet pregnancy and how my C-section was scheduled for 35 weeks and 1 day. I was never put on formal bed rest somehow. I wonder in hindsight, well, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I do wonder if slowing down would have helped me keep them cooking a little longer.
Slowing down is not in your DNA. Imagine that would have been really
not.
hard for you to hear at the time.
So we were working for the same company at the time. I worked until 30 weeks.
Yeah. I remember you had your bouncy ball at the office and you'd sit in front of your desk and
I'd waddle to and from. And the reason I actually stopped coming into the office outside of the obvious, I was massive, but it started feeling scary to drive.
Yeah.
I could not fit places anymore with the length. Is that the right word? Width of my body?
Depth,
The length of
maybe?
my
I don't know.
belly?
Yeah.
It was hard to drive.
Yeah. I can
Reaching
imagine.
over the belly to the steering wheel and just felt unsafe.
Yeah. You think about if you get in an accident and the steering, your belly's right there. Yeah.
So around 30 weeks, I'm sort of maybe forgetting the exact time, I started working from home.
Yeah.
I really did try and start slowing down, at least in terms of going into the office, but also that's when some of the other things started picking up. You feel like you have this long pregnancy. But in reality, my pregnancy was not like your typical 9 months. It was 7.
Right.
But there's a lot of things you don't do early, right? And I think part of that was not wanting to get too far ahead of ourselves. Maybe it was a protection mechanism.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you know, when we started really nesting, getting the nursery ready and doing the laundry. And, you know, I remember Travis assembling the cribs and assembling the dresser and all these things. I feel like we were like really close. We didn't know how close we were, but I was extremely uncomfortable and no help at all by then. So we waited too long.
Yeah.
And, you know, even showers and things like that friends wanted to host. I wish we had done a little earlier.
Yeah.
Because of my level of discomfort and just exhaustion that had kicked in.
Yeah.
By then. And again, you don't really know any different. You don't know how you're going to feel. And I think I had been warned that I was going to grow really fast and that, you know, it would hit.
Yeah.
But I also felt so lucky that I had felt as good as I did and carried as well as I did and had as healthy of a pregnancy as I did. But 30 to 31 weeks hit, and that's when things really started changing.
Mm.
So it was Valentine's Day of 2018, and I don't know how to describe it except that I just felt off.
Mm.
I think my parents had been in town the prior weekend, and I was just so uncomfortable. This is I was at 32 weeks.
Okay.
And a day.
Mm-hmm.
At this point in time, my entire pregnancy, I had been seeing my MFM every other week.
Uh-huh.
So every 2 weeks, this is where I got really spoiled. Every 2 weeks, I was getting an ultrasound.
Yeah.
We were, they were
Getting
going
to
through
see
all the
them.
screenings. That's the joy of the high risk pregnancy, right? Is
Right.
the more babies you carry,
The more attention you get.
exactly, the more attention you get to manage the pregnancy. So I woke up feeling off, and that day or the following day would have been the off week of my every 2 weeks.
Okay.
And I think I called my MFM to see if I could get an appointment. She was actually traveling. And so I need to give a shout out to just an angel on earth right now. We have a very good family friend who is a NICU nurse. From the very first day I found out it was triplets, she mentally, emotionally,
Yeah.
physically held my hand,
Yeah.
encouraged me. She is a full-time miracle worker,
Mm-hmm.
and just helped me know that it would be okay.
I think, how do I articulate this? I think, you never want, obviously, your babies to be in the NICU, but knowing the high likelihood, given you were having triplets, that they were going to have someone to normalize it
Yes.
and, not
Set expectations.
set expectations in a non-scary way. And
Right.
just, I think a lot of times maybe people don't want to think about it until they're forced to.
Right.
But for her to just be like, yeah, this is my everyday and I see miracles happen every day and your babies are going to be fine, but this is what you should do to prepare. And that's such a blessing.
1000%. NICU becomes an expectation,
Right.
for multiples, pregnancies, and premature births, not the exception.
Right.
And knowing what you're getting into helps so much. So my MFM was out of town, and I end up texting or calling my friend Priscilla, the NICU nurse, and she's just like, listen, never feel silly making a doctor's appointment. In my brain, I was like, I don't know if I'm off. Like, do I really need to go to the doctor? I'll have an appointment next week. And she was just very encouraging. Like, you're not silly. No doctor is going to be like, better safe than sorry.
Right.
No doctor is going to be mad that you came in just to check on yourself.
Right.
It is a triplet pregnancy.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to be tough, right?
Yes.
I was trying to tell myself I was fine and not be nervous.
Yeah.
So I make an appointment that day. It was very different because, again, my MFM had been doing everything, and their medical equipment was very advanced, and the scans that I had been getting were amazing. And so it was back to actually the same office that told me I was pregnant. So that was a fun little flashback. But they did another ultrasound, and everything looked fine. I proceeded to go to my OB's office, and, they did all of the typical weight, blood pressure, and they almost, okay, so here's the kicker. If I remember correctly, they almost didn't take lab work that day. Like, my blood pressure was elevated, but that's common.
Right.
So it wasn't like
a big red flag,
a massive red flag.
Yeah.
But I do remember my OBGYN telling me, I'm so glad we took your lab work. So I'm going to jump back to this. We leave that doctor's appointment, ran into a friend, end up going out to lunch. Like, it's Valentine's Day.
Right.
I have one of my favorite pictures of my whole entire pregnancy from that night, sitting on my sofa with a bowl of pasta on my big old belly.
That's the picture I always think of. I love that.
I'll share that one too. It's hilarious. Little did I know that would be my last night
being pregnant. Yeah.
So the next morning, my husband had a very early meeting out
Mhm.
of the house. And I was at the point in pregnancy where if I so much as sat up or got out of bed without something in my belly, I would feel faint.
Yeah.
So we had been in this habit of he would leave a protein shake or a Greek yogurt or something on the bedside table for me to just get something in my system before I'm moving.
Right.
So Travis had to leave really early that morning. I think it was probably about, 8 in the morning or so when I'm rolling over and starting, I think I just opened my yogurt or something and my phone rings and it's my OBGYN's office. And I answer and it's my OB's voice.
Mm-hmm.
And when you hear your doctor's voice instead of like the office manager, I knew something was up. And in that moment, the whole day, first of all, is a little bit of a blur.
Yeah.
It really is. It just became a very unexpected day. But the doctor started to share that she got my lab results back from the appointment yesterday and how she was so glad she had taken labs because, and this is where I didn't know any of the terminology at the time, but I had developed HELLP syndrome.
Oh, wow.
Which, for those of you who don't know, and I didn't either, honestly, I still don't know all of the details, but it's a severe form of preeclampsia.
Yeah.
I think is the easiest way to describe
that's
it.
exactly, yeah.
But it's life-threatening.
Yes.
For the mother. I think I think more or less the pregnancy is safe.
Yes, more or less. It's
for a
the
period
mother
of
is the
time.
more immediate concern in that situation.
So it's an acronym, HELLP, hemolysis, and that's the breaking down red blood cells that can cause jaundice and anemia. The E is elevated liver enzymes, and the LP is low platelets. And she was explaining this to me over the phone saying, I got your lab work, your liver enzymes are this, your platelets are that. And I don't remember the numbers top of mind, but it was like 3 times higher and or lower than what the normal should have been. Like enough to very much make me fearful. And so more or less she says, we need to get you to the hospital as soon as possible. And I sort of start panicking. And yet in my obliviousness at the same time, I ask, do I have time to shower?
I feel like everyone asks that. That is such a common refrain.
I mean, what a silly goose.
No.
But, Travis was not at home.
Yeah.
So I call him in a panic. He's sitting in a meeting. He leaves as fast as possible. I'm crying. I'm like, you need to come home. You have to drive me to the hospital. I don't know what's happening. They have to monitor me immediately. And I don't know that I realized at that point, but I'm maybe over time or maybe later in that day when Priscilla and I were texting that typically like for HELLP syndrome, the cure is delivering the pregnancy.
Correct.
I don't know that that really set in that morning. I think my doctor was really being vague.
She wasn't like, come in, you're having a C-section today.
Not that direct.
Yeah.
She probably knew that. Everyone else probably knew that.
Right.
I don't recall it being said to me that clearly. I believe it was communicated, we're going to get you to the hospital, monitor you, take your lab work again, see if your numbers have changed since yesterday, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure everyone else knew the plan.
Yeah.
I know for a fact they did because the NICU team was
They were ready. Wow. Okay.
So it's rush hour traffic. Travis is leaving a very early meeting to come back to the house. I'm packing a hospital bag and showering because, I should have been more prepared. I should have known better. But when I was so encouraged that, we would make it to my 35 weeks in one day, scheduled C-section.
This is 3 weeks early.
This is 32 weeks and 2 days.
Yeah.
And while it's not extremely early in the grand scheme of things, and very much right in that typical range of when the 32 to 34 week that 90% of triplets are born, I still, for whatever reason, was not fully prepared. So I'm pulling everything together that morning. Travis comes to pick me up. I think we are pulling into the hospital around like 10:30 or 11, to the point that my doctor calls me back and she's like, "Hey, are you coming?" I'm like, "Oops, yes, we're parking right now. We're here," And I think pretty soon after that is when I started to get the vibe that this was a little more serious than I realized. They had a room waiting for me. All the teams were already prepared. And it was no more than 20 minutes that I'm in the room, all of the monitors hooked up. They're taking my blood work, they're retesting anything and everything that they could. The urgency became apparent. Yeah. And then there was probably a little bit of downtime that we're sort of sitting and waiting. But then during that time, here and there, a doctor would come introduce themselves. Another doctor would come introduce themselves. They're all waiting for that
go,
no go. I think everyone knew it was a go.
Yeah.
And then eventually it was told to us, it was probably closer to 2:00 at this point. They got the lab results back and my numbers were even. I don't remember if it's higher or lower, but even further away from that, what the normal range should have been. And it was just communicated like, your labs don't look good. You will be meeting your babies at, I think they said like at 4:00 or something like that. And we look at the clock and I'm like, okay, that's in like 2 hours.
Wow.
So that day flew by.
So did they start you on a magnesium drip or anything?
Yes.
Okay.
I do not remember when.
Yeah.
But magnesium messed me up.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
For days. I mean, I'm thankful for all modern medicine.
Of course.
I really am. I'm just so thankful for everything to do with my birth. If there's one thing I could change, it's just that it's a little bit more clear in my mind.
Yeah.
The medicines just made everything so foggy. Which turns out, when you don't write your birth story down, it's really hard to remember 8 years later.
But I have heard that magnesium is brutal.
Yeah.
Someone described it like a weighted blanket on your brain.
That's exactly what it felt like. And I usually love weighted blankets.
I know. This person does too, but not on your brain and not when you're meeting your babies.
No. So we got the it's go time notice. At that point, we're sending out, please pray for us. We're telling our families like it's happening. Get to the hospital. Around 3:30 is like the final picture I have with Travis and I in the room.
Yeah.
And I genuinely, it was a whirlwind. I don't know of another word to describe it except that, everyone else knows what's happening. There's a sequence of events, right? This is so brand new to us.
Right.
And it's happening so fast. And, I woke up and didn't even get my protein shake.
Right.
I forgot to tell you that. But the first thing my doctor says to me is, have you eaten anything yet today? I said, I'm still sitting in bed about to eat my yogurt. And she goes, don't. That should have been the sign. Surgery. She knew.
Yeah.
So I go into the operating room probably around 3:30. And my labor and delivery nurse was the best thing in the world.
Oh.
At that point, Travis couldn't be with me.
Yeah.
To get the epidural or spinal block, I guess.
I think with when it's not an emergency C-section, they usually do the spinal.
Right.
Yeah.
I just remember having to curl over.
Yeah.
Like make my back into sort of a C, hold her hand. I don't remember what was said, but I just remember feeling so comforted and scared at the same time. You're in this sterile room.
Right. By yourself.
When everything has been happening so fast around you. It was quiet. I think it was just me, the nurse, and the anesthesia team.
Yeah.
I could be wrong about that. And that was the quietest it would be for the rest of the afternoon.
For the rest of your life.
True, really. Because Travis wasn't there yet. She held my hand so tight. She hugged me. She encouraged me. And again, this is where everything is blurry because all I know is it's close to 4:00. I know some of this from photos and looking back and talking with my husband, obviously. But then the room is just bustling with people. There's the anesthesia team. There's my OB team, surgeons.
The baby team.
Nurses all over the place in various roles. And then each for the NICU teams, I believe each baby had, I think, at least 3 nurses.
Wow. A full team for each baby. Yeah.
And some of the neonatologists were in there for either curiosity or support or
teaching, learning,
all the things.
Yeah.
I think that room probably had 20
at least
to 30 people.
I bet. Not very
here
intimate.
And there. Intimate was not a word I would use. I do wish that I had put more thought into a birth plan. Even though there was so much out of my control, in hindsight, even just to have a playlist that
I was going to ask if you guys had music.
I wish I had.
Because you guys are such music people too.
For sure. And it just didn't become the priority.
Yeah.
Maybe it would have had we had more time. Again, my hospital bag wasn't even packed, so my playlist was not made. But it also, it just became such a low priority.
Yeah.
But I just remember voices and beeps and then things started.
Yeah.
So it was a wild atmosphere. It was, everyone in there had a job. They knew what they were doing. A chaotic calm, maybe, is what I would call it. Everyone else was calm, but to me it felt chaotic.
Chaos.
Yeah.
Choreographed chaos.
Good word.
Thank you.
Choreographed chaos. So then the babies were here. I don't remember if...
Did they call out like, this is baby A?
Oh, yeah. I don't remember if they said, okay, we're starting. Probably something along the lines, because Travis was taking some pictures. We have a selfie. I remember them sort of saying like, okay, you're going to feel like pushing or tugging, but you shouldn't feel pain. And I was just like, oh, okay. And, maybe there were a couple of tests that they tested. And sure enough, I felt some pushing, some tugging. And at 4:10 p.m., I think they said something along the line of, baby A's out. Baby A's a girl.
Yeah.
And that was Morgan.
Yeah.
She was they held her over the curtain to me. I was so loopy at this point. She was the only one I got to see.
Really?
I think so. They were having some respiratory distress. I don't know how much I knew about that at the time, but in hindsight, I remember Morgan starting to cry.
Yeah.
And I look at Travis and go, she sounds like a cat.
They do sound like little kittens, like mewling.
So I was a little with it for her.
Yeah. And
then shortly after Morgan was born, so they spaced out the 3 births. Morgan was born at 4:10. 3 minutes later, baby B. 3 minutes later, baby C. And somewhere between baby A and B, I started having a lot of the anesthesia side effects. And I remember getting really panicky. I remember laying there. I think my arms were secured left to right. And I just remember convulsively shaking. And then, of course, I'm in my head about that. So I sort of disconnect at that point from the whole C-section. The curtain is still up and Travis is still sort of taking some pictures, but I'm panicking and looking at the anesthesia team and saying, is this supposed to be happening? I had not done my research to really know what to expect. My fault, but also I
wish they would tell you. Just heads up,
they may have. It felt weird.
Yeah.
And I got so cold. I think, it felt like shivering maybe. Yeah. So I sort of had a disconnected, weird moment right around there. And then at the same time, So baby B's out
Mm-hmm.
at 4:13 p.m. And that was a shock because they say baby B is a girl. Baby B was supposed to be a boy.
Right.
The whole entire pregnancy, my son was baby B. He was
Right.
in the middle. And true to her little personality, Zoe just popped right out,
Decided
shoved him
she
out of
wanted
the
to be
way.
next.
That is correct. So that was a very interesting shift at birth that
Yeah.
we thought was sort of funny. And then 3 minutes later, 4:16 p.m., baby C is out.
Mm-hmm.
And they're letting them sort of rest
Yeah.
outside of my body for a minute or two before the cord cutting.
Okay. Are people like holding them or did like,
They pulled them out,
yeah.
let them literally rest, I think, on me
Okay. Yeah.
for whatever that period of time was. And then there's the cord cutting, and then it was immediately to the NICU team.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately in there, to get cleaned up and
Right.
to be in their incubators or isolates. They're getting weighed, they're,
Mhm.
all of the protocol. But all three of them very quickly, it wasn't an emergency C-section in the sense that some people
Right.
have. It was scheduled enough,
Yes.
right? But with prematurity, you do expect the NICU, and you do expect that they will be born with some struggles
Mm-hmm.
to breathe, to keep their temperature,
Right.
learning to feed, all these things over time, right? But the immediate challenges that all three of mine face were respiratory distress, among other things. But that was definitely
The most immediate.
the most immediate and obvious one that had them very quickly wheeled out of the room.
Yeah.
So after they were born, I genuinely don't remember a lot.
Yeah.
I know that my husband stayed with me.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I had hours
Mm.
in recovery.
Mm.
One of the worst selfies of my life.
I remember. I know.
I'll
exactly.
show you that one
I know
too.
exactly what picture you're talking about.
Oh, I was loopy.
Yeah.
Ugh, the magnesium.
Yeah. And pain meds and
All of it.
All of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like between 7 to 8 p.m. that night that I was even remembering being awake.
Right.
I did not get to see my babies until like 9 o'clock that night. That's just a weird feeling.
Yeah.
In hindsight too.
Yeah.
But I'm just thankful they're healthy.
Yeah.
It took me a while for that fog to lift.
Mm-hmm.
I truly can't describe the parallel emotions of gratitude that they were here, that they were being cared for medically, and also just sadness for what the experience had to be. There was no immediate skin to skin, no immediate bonding. I was so foggy, even when I got wheeled into the NICU that night. I was reminded of this recently, that I was rolled up to one of their beds and I was like, oh, he's so cute. And they were like, that's your daughter. I was like, oh, I didn't even know which baby was which. It was just a weird, strange feeling. I'm sticking my hand through a little teeny tiny hole just to put it on them after scrubbing for 3 minutes to be clean. It's just it's an experience that even if you're prepared for it, it still just doesn't feel natural.
Yeah. Well, they were literally just part of your body. And then now to
try and understand my new place in their life.
Oh, that's hard.
So that was delivery day.
You've been listening to the Arrivals podcast. Tune in tomorrow for part 2 of my conversation with Mindy.